Hey guys, it's Robot Ham. Welcome back. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, something I've never done on the channel before. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the classes from a particular Fire Emblem game. As you can see, it's going to be Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. But thankfully, I am not here by myself. I'm joined by one of my good friends.
Kris Komedies.
Yeah, we are both big fans of the Fire Emblem series, and particularly Sacred Stones. It's the game that I'd say, we've probably both played the most. I know you've played it a
I
lot.
played this one more than the other ones.
Yeah, and so we're probably the most familiar with Sacred Stone, so that's why we're going to start by just doing a tier list of all the different classes. So without further ado, let's get started. The classes are in alphabetical order, and we're only going to be doing the promoted units. So we won't have like Cavalier, Pegasus Knight, because then this video would take an absurdly long
time.
So yeah, I think we still have like 20-something units here to rank. So I guess let's just go ahead and get started with the Assassin. And I should say also one quick thing. The tiers, obviously S is the best, D is the worst, and we're ranking these on our own personal opinion. It's just completely subjective. So
absolutely.
Yeah, feel free to disagree with our rankings. Anyways,
let's comment below. That way we can stimulate comments below too.
Exactly.
Comment below your tier list.
Yeah, the whole thing. Make a video response if you have to. But the Assassin is first up. Where are you thinking for the Assassin?
Well, the Assassin's good, but not great. I'd probably put them as either a B or a high C in my guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll put them in B for now. We can always change this if we want to. But Assassin, they can only use swords, which is a little bit of a downgrade.
The Silencer skill isn't bad, though.
Yeah, they do have the skill. It just doesn't work very well on bosses. But yeah, I think I'd put them probably about B tier. So I'd say for right now, let's just leave it in B tier. And we can always change it, like I said. The Berserker, very, very difficult.
I like using them, especially if it's Rust. Dazzle is okay, but Rust is like a beast.
Yeah. Ross.
I'd probably go... It's almost an S, but probably, I'd guess, somewhere at an A.
Yeah, I'll put it in the A tier. Yeah, just as a class, it's pretty good. It gets the plus 15 crit rate. It can walk across sea. It can walk across mountain. Yeah, I'd say overall as a class, it's probably about an A tier. It doesn't have the mobility of like a Wyvern or a Paladin or something like that. So,
and from memory, I don't believe they're very good against magic. So if you attack one with magic, they're going to die.
They get like 60 health, but like 3 resistance. So yeah, and unless you're Ross, you're not really fast. So
yeah,
poor Duzla. We'll get to him in a future video. All right, next up is a Bishop. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. The Bishop might be the hardest one to rank.
Because against an ordinary dude, it's like a C or a D.
Yeah.
Because they only use light. But the entire end game is monsters, and they have advantage on monsters.
Yeah. Their weapons do triple damage against the monster enemies that you fight exclusively in the post game. So, oh man, where are we going to settle with this one? Because I could see it going either way.
You could put it in any one, and it would make sense.
Yeah. I feel like early game it's down here, but because of the post game being what you play the most, especially if you're doing the Lagdao Ruins or something, I'd put it in either A or S even.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should it be our first S tier?
Yeah, probably. Because if you're attacking Lagdao without a bishop, that's not going to go very well.
Yeah, you're going to use a lot of weapon usages. So yeah, bishops are almost essential for Lagdao.
And another one that's kind of hard to rank.
Yeah, the Dancer. It doesn't fight, but it's the ultimate support class.
For those who don't know, if it dances next to a unit, they get 2 turns in 1 round, which in Fire Emblem, you only get each unit once each turn. Mm-hmm. So that's really...
Yeah, you could essentially have your best unit attack twice every single turn, as long as the Dancer could reach it. So it's such a good support class. I'd say probably A tier, S tier maybe?
I'd probably go A.
Yeah, A tier is pretty good.
Because if they get hit once, there's a very low chance they're going to dodge.
Yeah, and they have... Tethys has such little HP, she'll probably just die.
Yeah. Like, level up is just to get hit points and dodging. Like, they can't do anything else.
So up next is the Druid, one of our absolute favorite classes between the two of us. It's just so cool looking.
With the exception of the super people, this is easily the best one to make Huon, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because when you give him Gleipnir, he just owns and kills everything. I think I've had him kill Leon in the second final boss fight. in
on
like
the last chapter.
1 or 2 hits before with Gleipnir. Yeah, I had a crit with Gleipnir once. With
On Leon?
Yeah,
Oh
on
my
Leon.
goodness.
It was great.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh man,
As a druid, though, the only other one can be Null, I
and
think.
Null stinks.
Yeah, Null's pretty bad. But they can use Anima Magic, which is pretty
and
good.
Stabs as well.
So probably B or A is where I'm leaning on mine.
I'm probably closer to the A just because it's a Druid. Druids are cool.
Yeah, Druid, I mean, their dodging animation alone is just like S tier.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Teleport.
Yeah, pretty much. Next up is the 2 Great Lords. Now, this tier list has Erica's Great Lord and Ephraim's Great Lord as 2 different units. I guess they are technically, because only one can use swords and one can use lances. But what about Erica?
I mean, like, it makes her better.
Yeah,
but your average unit is still going to be a lot more useful. So I'm thinking probably C-ish.
Yeah, I would put her in D tier, except she gets the horse. Like if she just stayed as a lord the whole game, I think she'd be D tier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she gets the additional movement with the horse, I think that bumps her up to the mighty rank of C.
Yeah.
Ephraim, on the other hand, is
S tier.
just S tier. He's so good. Like, I mean, obviously he has the weapon advantage over his sister, but he's just so much better than her at everything.
He's good at everything. He's a cool character. His attacks are way cooler. Like, he spins his lance when he stabs things.
Yeah, not even on a crit. He just does it. Yeah, I think we both agree.
And he gets 2 sacred weapons. Well, not sacred weapons, but 2 unique weapons
like
to
proficient
himself.
weapons. Yeah, that's just super cool.
I think we have a first here.
Falcon Knights. Yeah, they're not great in Sacred Stones.
I'd almost say D tier.
Do they still get swords in Sacred Stones?
They get swords, but like they're meant to have a magic resistance, but they're still gonna take almost 10 damage each time, and they only get like 30 HP.
Yeah, that's true.
I
feel like their utility of just being able to fly is pretty good, which might bump them up to C tier.
That's a good point.
I mean, if you look towards the bottom of the list, we have a couple other flyers that are so much better. So yeah, I think we could justify putting it in D tier, at least in our opinion. So next up is the Almighty General. This looks like it's Amelia's
I think so.
Costume for the General, because it ain't Gilliam. Generals, typically, pretty high defense, low resistance. This game, they can wield all 3 weapons, which is really interesting. Most generals can't do that. Where are you thinking for the good old General?
Maybe a high B or a low A. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable in the B tier.
Because, like, a lot of what separates the B tier from the A tier. So, like, A tier, like, the Berserker and the General, if you upgrade them right, the Berserker does a lot more damage, but it's the speed.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting twice, or you're not actually hitting or dodging in the first place, you can't really be an A.
Yeah, that's
with a slight exception with the Dancer, because it's just
it's just such a good support. But and then similarly, the Great Knight is almost like the General, except it's on a horse, because they can use all 3 weapons still, but I think they get 1 more movement
and a little bit less defense, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit less. If I'm wrong about that, I'll put a note on screen. But
I'd almost put it with the General.
Yeah, they're so similar in almost every way. I think they both use a Knight Crest to get promoted.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the General has super defense, but that's almost useless when you have a General, because they already take pretty much 0 damage.
That's true. The Great Shield.
Great Shield, that's what it's called.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Great Knight is... It's literally just a General, except on a horse.
Yeah.
So it should be about the same as
they look very Mongolian, because they've got, like, the horns on the horse's head. Like, and
yeah, that's true. All right, next up is the Hero class, which
Heroes are great.
Yeah, they're one of the best classes objectively. Like, they're super good.
Because they get swords and axes, so you get really good accuracy with the sword, but then if you want to do a ton of damage, you've got an axe.
So if you get lucky and get a bunch of skill in your level ups, you can just go to axes, like, exclusively.
Yeah, Russ or Garrick as a hero. Like, Russ obviously is better as a hero, but Garrick even as a hero is really good.
Mm-hmm. In fact, he looks really cool with this purple armor. Like, it's
because this one is Garrick.
Promotion. Yeah. What are you thinking? Like A?
I'd say
an S.
It'd be close to an S, but probably an A, just because some of the characters will eventually get up to.
Yeah, like, I think that's probably borderline S.
He's like the top of the A tier.
Now, next up is the Super Journeyman. We're using the super classes for Journeyman, Recruit, and Pupil. as their own separate things because they're technically a third tier,
Yeah.
evolution promotion. But I was actually talking about this earlier. The journeyman third tier is literally berserker, except like worse.
Yeah.
Like it has almost
It's not
all,
very good.
it has all the same perks of being the berserker. It's just missing a couple.
Yeah, it's missing.
So
it's missing out on movement. It's
yeah, like it gets all the same critical hit rate, all the same stat caps and everything. It can't cross mountain or sea. So I think for that, it's
and it doesn't mean that like you couldn't get one to like Erica's level, but it's so useless that why would you do it?
yeah. I mean,
So
when Ross is the only person that can be
yeah,
a super journeyman and he can also be a berserker, like why would you not just make him a berserker instead?
yeah.
All right, next up is the Mage Knight.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool class. I remember first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's a mage on a horse. That's got to be good."
Yeah, you get anima magic and staves at this one.
Yeah.
So usually this is like
loot.
I
usually make loot. Yeah.
You can technically do La Rochelle as this, but La Rochelle's light.
Yeah,
La Rochelle
she's
has
a
to be
Valkyrie.
a Valkyrie.
So what do you think? Probably B tier, C tier.
It's either really high C or a low B.
Yeah, I think
the movement makes it a B.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Just the fact that it's a sage except on a horse. Yeah, I think it's
because magic already has a range of 2. When you put a horse on top of that, that's basically
you can hit like half the map.
Yeah.
All right. What about Mur's exclusive class, the Manakete?
So the Manakete's really good, but you get 50 attacks and you're done.
Yeah.
Unless you glitch. Unless you glitch out the game, but then you lose all the stat boosts. It's like if you could be A and like D simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe it's a similar case of Erica. It's like it's good, but it's just there's so much better options.
Yeah, like
so maybe put her.
If you want to like, what I like to do, just because I like to, I don't know, play the game poetically. Get her at least to level 20, and then have her face against the undead dragon at the gate, which I think is.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it her father? Isn't it?
Father or uncle or something like that.
It's kind of messed up, but I kind of like the characters to like fight like who the biggest beef with is or the biggest connection. I think usually.
Yeah.
Oh, Paladin!
Paladin's so good. I mean, I wish this was Seth's.
Yeah, it should be Seth.
Right, but yeah, its Paladins are so good in Sacred Stone. I'd
probably say S tier.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They can't use axes, which is a knock against them, but there's just
they're fast. Good. They pretty much never miss. Good damage.
Yeah, Paladins are super good. Phantoms, I kind of kept this in here just as a joke, but Phantoms, I mean, they are their own unit and they're interesting.
So basically, they have 1 hit point.
Yeah.
But they're great distractions because an enemy will, in almost every circumstance, attack a Phantom of your own unit. So they're great for bait.
Yeah, they can really protect a healer if you make a wrong move or something. You can just summon a Phantom and boom, you're out of that pinch.
And once they upgrade, they actually deal a good amount of damage.
Yeah, and they can wield like killer axes and stuff. So Phantoms are decent.
Yeah. I feel like the C tier is kind of like becoming all the weird ones.
I think so. I mean, I feel like it's not D tier. But I think it's a pretty solid C tier.
Yeah.
All right, and next up is the Super Pupil, which is...
This is the one for that level...
It's so good.
It's actually S tier, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good, because it can use all 3 types of magic.
Except for staves, and why would you need to if you have all 3 forms of magic?
Yeah, I mean, that's what, like, people like Natasha and La Rochelle are for.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the Super Pupil, just... If you have the patience to upgrade Ewan, which I usually do, because he's one of my favorite characters.
I always do.
Yeah, the Super Pupil is just ridiculously broken because you can have S rank in any magic you want and still have A rank in the other 2. So yeah, he's insane. Next up is the Ranger?
Yes.
Yeah, the Ranger.
So they get swords, bows, and pretty good movement.
Yeah, I think they have 7 movement, maybe 8. So we haven't gotten to the other bow users yet, but this one I would honestly say is probably the best of the bows, which isn't saying much because bow users aren't very good in Fire Emblem, but
especially Sacred Stones.
Yeah. So where are you thinking with this one?
I'd say it's either a B or a C most likely.
I think
the horse again makes it really good.
I think B tier is kind of becoming the horse tier. It's like the last 3 there would be C tier, but they're mounted, so they bump up to B tier. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good for the ranger. Next up is the super recruit, which really the only perk it gets, because it can only use lances, the only perk it gets is plus 15 crit rate, which is really good. None of Amelia's other
Yeah.
classes get that, so it at least has some niche to it if you want to stick with it.
Yeah. I'm
Although you kind of lose out on the
It's
other
definitely
weapons.
better than the journeyman,
But it's not really as
but
good as
not
the
much.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think C tier, because she can become a great knight
Yeah.
or a general, and I think those are both better for her.
Even a paladin too. Like
Yeah,
she can literally
that's
become
true.
3 of the most fun units.
That's true.
And even like the B tier ones, they're still really good in certain scenarios just by themselves, not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
The
rogues.
rogue, one of the most interesting classes because of their pick skill. I almost never use them to fight. I just use them to get chests.
Oh, they can fight? No, I
Yeah,
know that.
they can equip lock picks they don't even need.
Yeah. They have swords, they can steal, and they can pick without locks.
Yeah.
Their animation's also pretty cool.
Yeah, they have one of the flashiest animations. I think for utility, they're like an S tier, but for combat, they're like a C or a D. So maybe somewhere in the middle, like B.
Yeah, I think
or
B is a
A.
good split the difference.
Yeah, because they're not really good at fighting, but they're just so valuable.
You will need one of these if you want to make Lagdao Ruins worth it.
Yeah, that's true. Sage is up next.
That's an interesting one.
It is interesting in Sacred Stones, with the Mage Knight especially.
Because, like, yeah, he gets anima and light and staves.
Yeah. He's basically just a bishop that can use anima and doesn't get the Slayer ability, so he's worse.
Yeah, so it's like, I think I did Huon as a sage once just because it's like what the game recommends.
Yeah.
And then I never did it again.
Yeah, just when you can have dark magic on Yuan, it's so much better. So what are you thinking? B, C?
Oh, man. It's either a really high C or a low B again, so I don't know.
I kind of like that C tier is just like the unique classes, so we'll put Sage as a low B. And again, these aren't ranked like in order in the tier. It's just kind of where we've been placing them. Swordmaster's up next.
Joshua as a Swordmaster is really good.
Really good. I would say easy A tier or even S tier for Swordmaster.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Given that he's going to crit almost every other hit eventually.
Yeah, with a killing edge. Yeah, it's insane.
Probably S tier.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Joshua's just so good.
Plus, they have the coolest looking crit in the game, pretty much. Where they blur into all the different Swordmasters and like hit 8 times.
Yeah, the only one that might be cooler is the one we're getting to here in just a minute. All right, and then we have the Sniper, one of my least favorite classes in the game.
If you're playing Radiant or Path of Radiance, you at least get like all the like different perks snipers get.
Yeah, like higher crit rate and marksman with the Deadeye ability and all that. But in Sacred Stone, snipers just they're not great.
I almost never I did it once and it was one of the things like I'm not doing this again. I'd almost put it as a D.
I think so, just because bows aren't very good. And then their skill that they get, which they're only one of 7 classes that get a skill, and their skill is literally useless. It just makes it to where they can't miss one shot. But all snipers
get
high
really
skill.
miss anyway.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a useless skill, and at least my opinion.
Ooh, the Summoner. Yeah,
the Summoner. This is the class that I was talking about a few seconds ago that might have the coolest crit animation in the whole game. It's one of the coolest. If I can find like a GIF of it, I'll try to put it on screen right now just because it's super cool.
The complicated thing is that when it comes to fighting, the Summoner's not great.
Yeah, because he can only use dark.
However,
he can summon.
He summons phantoms.
Yeah, and he can heal too, which is pretty good. I feel like maybe a B or a C tier?
Oh, man.
Because he's not great at fighting, like we just said.
Man.
I could put him as the same as a Sage.
Yeah, I'd say that's
just because he's worse than the Sage because he can only use one magic, but he can summon.
And he's definitely way more useful.
Yeah, so I'd say about a Sage level is pretty good. All right, speaking of magic, next up is our last magic user, the Valkyrie. I think, can only 2 units become this? Natasha and La Rochelle?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
A
mounted healer can use light magic.
Which is good for endgame because all the monsters use dark.
Yeah, but they don't get the Slayer bonus,
Yeah.
which isn't as good.
It's definitely at least a B.
Yeah, I think at least a B.
Could it be an A, do you think? I don't know.
Uh,
I don't really.
I don't know. Looking at the
Yeah.
tiers, I think B is pretty solid. And this is like a normal tier list video. Everything's in B tier.
Yeah.
It's just kind of all okay.
Except for this next one.
Yeah, except for the next one, which we have Warrior, which, oh man.
Why would you do this?
Yeah, we've ragged on bows so much, and then axes aren't much better. Like, when you can choose to become a hero or a warrior, why would you choose warrior?
The only person that, if you bother upgrading, you should make a warrior is Garcia.
Yeah, just because he used to be a warrior.
Because if you make him a hero, you just get a slow hero, which means you just have a unit that stands there.
Yeah. So I think probably a D tier for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Like,
pretty easy.
Like, yeah, the crit looks kind of funny, but like,
it just spins around over and over. Yeah, that's easily the best part of the warrior. Like, if there was a D plus, he'd be a D plus.
Yeah,
tier,
he got a D plus.
Yeah, just because of that funny crit animation. And the bow, doesn't he like spin the bow around?
Yeah, he spins the bow. Somehow that helps him make a better shot.
Yeah, he's somehow more accurate that way. Alrighty.
Ooh.
Easily.
My favorite unit in the game.
Coolest
probably.
looking,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, by far the coolest looking unit is the Wyvern Knight. It just, it's just so cool. Especially when you turn from a Pegasus into this. Like, it's not what you expect at all. Looks so much cooler than the Falcon Knight.
When they turn into when a Pegasus becomes a Wyvern Knight, does that mean they got a new Wyvern to ride, or does the Pegasus become a Wyvern?
I like to think that they use the Elysian Whip so much that it just like deforms the Pegasus and turns it into the Wyvern Knight. So it's just like, come on, get better, and then it's finally like, fine, I'll get better, and then it turns into a dragon. That's my headcanon.
That's not what I was thinking. I was like, oh, it's just magic. Nope, it's brutalizing a Pegasus.
Yep. That's it.
Oh man, my opinion. I always make Cormag a Wyvern Knight. So I'd put him like S tier.
I would too. I mean, like objectively, no, it's not S tier because our last unit is going to be better than it. But just subjectively, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's easily.
It's a snake with wings.
Yeah, like it's easily an S tier. All right, and finally we have the Wyvern Lord, who, although he's not as cool as the Wyvern Knight, he's still really, really cool looking.
And he's technically better for combat.
Yeah, just because they get
barring the
piercing
sword skill.
Yeah, oh, that's true. We didn't even talk about Pierce with the Wyvern Knight. That's one of like the best parts about their character, as long as you don't have animations.
That's almost the best skill in the game, wouldn't you say? It's up there. Like when it comes to like skill you're actually doing the combat, not like summoning or lockpicking.
Yeah, like I would say that and Slayer are easily the two best.
Oh yeah, Slayer's definitely Slayer's the best. I forgot about Slayer.
But we're for the Wyvern Lord. I think I could almost make a case for S tier as well.
You could
with
make
this
them
one.
both S tier. That'd be believable. But A tier works. Like,
yeah, it's the fact that they get swords really makes me want to put them in S tier as well, just because we really like Cormag, as you'll see in a future video. But also just because, like, yeah, they're dragons. They're just cool.
Yeah. It's kind of funny looking at the S and A tier list. That's basically the units I use in the end game.
I know, same. It's like I see Ewan, I see Joshua, Amelia, Ephraim, like Natasha, Cormag. Yeah, these are Ross. Yeah,
I think the only difference to me is I almost always have Amelia as a general, just because I find generals useful. But yeah, the
paladins are so good.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's our last unit to rank. So that's the end of this tier list. It went more or less. I like that C tier is just like a bunch of weird things. Yeah. It's like the one-offs that can only happen like for individual units.
And then D tier is all the units I forget are in the game.
Oh yeah, that's so true. It's like I don't think I've ever willingly used a warrior ever.
I did back when I was like a kid and just thought, oh, he looks cool. But now I'm like, no.
I mean, he does have cool armor, but yeah, snipers are so bad. Also, the Falcon Knight.
If you look at the warrior's face, his helmet is actually almost over his eyes. Like, I don't know how he sees.
Yeah, maybe that's why he spins around for his crit animation, because he's just trying to get the helmet to fall off his head so he can actually see. But
and then it's kind of like when you look at some of the characters, like for some reason, berserkers, druids, and not summoners, just berserkers and druids. Why do their eyes all of a sudden start glowing?
Oh, that's true. It kind of makes them look creepier.
It does.
I mean, it kind of works for a druid. I mean, I guess Berserker's like a
Yeah.
big pirate dude. They're pretty scary.
Yeah.
But all right, that's the end of this tier list. Like I said, it went pretty well. I feel pretty comfortable with this. I don't think we need to move anything.
I mean, we could move some of the D tiers to like an F tier if we had.
Oh, that's
but
true.
Other than that, no.
Yeah. So okay, well that wraps up this video. Thank you, Kris, for joining me
for this. It was fun.
It was super fun. And look forward to another video with the two of us ranking each of the characters from Fire Emblem Sacred Stones.